The duck pond fire burning in Gypsum on the western slope, now 60% contained, started Saturday afternoon near I-70, and it closed down the interstate through Glenwood Canyon for a while. Colorado State Patrol says the fire was started by a person, but they haven't given us any more information. Colorado's streak of 2 weeks with red flag warnings across parts of the state is forcing fire departments to respond in different ways. As 9 News reporter Mark Salinger tells us, the dry and windy weather leaves little time before a spark can turn into a big wildfire.
Wind dramatically changes everything, as does the dry conditions.
When the wind picks up,
fire can get out of hand very quickly on a red flag day.
The response changes.
We want to keep fires as small as we can, and that means get there as soon as we can with as many people as we can to help keep those small.
Eric Hurst with South Metro Fire says his department usually sends 2 engines and a chief to calls of a vegetation fire. On days when red flag warnings are in effect, the number triples, with more than 30 firefighters responding.
When fires move fast, it means that they're going to be big, and chances are in this fire district, if it gets big, it's going to be threatening somebody's house or neighborhood.
Colorado has now seen 14 straight days of red flag warnings across the state. At the Boulder Fire Department, staffing increases on days when these warnings are issued.
So wildland engines are staffed extra on top of the usual structure engines. And that's a big piece, is having that extra apparatus to be here to fight new starts.
The goal is to respond with force to a fire as soon as it starts. In South Metro's district, wildland fire trucks follow normal fire engines around to calls in case a fire spreads to an area that normal fire trucks can't reach on red flag days.
You may see the typical fire engine that you would see out and about every day, and maybe a smaller 4x4 fire engine following it everywhere it goes.
Not all fire departments respond to red flag days the same way. In smaller, more rural areas like Grand Lake, the fire department up there will call in extra help through mutual aid more quickly on red flag days. They simply don't have the resources to respond the same way that a lot of fire departments down here in the metro area do. In Douglas County, I'm Mark Salinger, 9 News.
Mark, thanks. It costs more for the fire departments to send more vehicles and firefighters to every fire, even if it's a small one. So the cost to do that is far less than the destruction that would follow if the fire spread quickly. Well, today, Colorado U.S. Senator Michael Bennet is scheduled to survey the property in Boulder that burned in the Marshall Fire in Boulder County. Debris removal for the Marshall Fire is underway. FEMA's private property debris removal program is doing some of that work. Bennet helped secure federal approval for that program. And some people who lost their homes in the Marshall Fire may soon qualify for more money to help them rebuild.
The Small Business Administration is taking another look at building costs in Boulder County after families said the agency's estimates were just way too low. 9 News talked to a couple who said the SBA told them they wouldn't qualify for the extra help because the agency thought insurance would cover the full cost to rebuild a home. Builders are saying the opposite. They thought the family's insurance policy would only cover a fraction of the bill. Monday, the agency said it's increasing its cost estimates, which will qualify more people for their loan program. They plan to reach back out to families who were told they couldn't get the money.
And this morning, Russian forces started the battle for Donbas, Ukraine. Russia bombarded cities across Ukraine on Monday with at least 4 missile strikes reported in the western city of Lviv and at least 7 people killed. Ukraine's defense ministry says Russian forces have completed regrouping troops to launch an offensive in the east. Ukrainian forces are continuing to resist Russian attacks in the southeastern port city of Mariupol after rejecting a decline to surrender. We're taking a live look at the White House this morning. As it stands, there are no plans for President Biden to visit Ukraine, even as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is encouraging him to do so. Biden did suggest last week that he wanted to go, though he said it's still under discussion. On Monday, the White House announced the process for Ukrainians to apply for temporary protected status in the U.S. Now, this only applies to Ukrainians living in the U.S. as of April 11th. Ukrainians outside the U.S. are not eligible, and they'll not become eligible by moving here. Instead, the U.S. says that they should apply for a visa. The U.S. says almost 60,000 Ukrainians may be eligible. Well, state Democrats advanced a bill designed to prevent insider attacks on elections.
Yeah, this bill would keep county election clerks from giving access to voting system hard drives to outsiders. unless they get permission to do that from the Secretary of State. It would also prevent someone from serving as an election leader if they've been convicted of an election offense, something like sedition, insurrection, treason, or conspiracy to overthrow the government. It passed a Senate committee on party line votes, Democrats in favor, Republicans against. Mesa County, Clerk Tina Peters could again be removed from her duties running the elections as she faces a felony indictment for tampering with voting systems.
Colorado's Democratic Secretary of State Jenna Griswold is suing to keep Peters from overseeing elections this year. Peters was removed from her role as elections director last year through a lawsuit. That only applied to the 2021 election. This lawsuit would bar her from 2022. Peters has essentially admitted to breaching her own voting system security to leak files to fellow conspiracy theorists. Griswold gave Peters the chance to continue to oversee elections in her county as long as she agreed to supervision. Peters refused. No decision from the court on Monday. They were expected to pick it back up on Thursday.
Governor Polis and state lawmakers say that they're taking on homelessness with a series of bills that'll give more money to an issue now seen as a crisis. The three bills would allocate $200 million to programs across the state, not just the metro areas. The money will fund a variety of issues, including mental health, addiction recovery, housing cost, and employment and child care resources.
The people that have mental health problems, they need their program. The people with addictions, they need their program. The people that are fighting homelessness need their program, because there's not one program that is fit for all people.
The series of bills were formally introduced to the legislature this week and will still need to go through debate in both of the chambers.
New this morning, the Colorado Senate passed a ban that would prohibit adults from talking on cell phones while driving unless it was hands-free, like Bluetooth. Under current law, adult drivers are allowed to use cell phones for calls, but they cannot text or browse the internet while driving. Drivers under the age of 18 are prohibited from all cell phone use. This now moves to the House for consideration. Today, Denver's first approved marijuana social equity dispensary will open. Social Cannabis, located at 5068 North Federal Boulevard in Denver, is holding a ribbon cutting ceremony at 11 o'clock this morning. This shop holds the first marijuana social equity license approved in Denver. The city's program aims to provide ownership opportunities for people who may have been negatively impacted by the prohibition of cannabis. Denver City Council approved a use and lease agreement with Frontier Airlines to create new ground level boarding gate facility at Denver International Airport. The project would create 120,000 square foot facility with 14 gates, support space, and a maintenance facility. 37,000 square feet would be added to the airport, with the rest being remodeled. The airline's proposal is a 10-year lease and use agreement with the city.